Hello and welcome back. My name is Lance Dixon with Curriculum and Training System, and we want to welcome you back as we talk to you again about some more of the foundational principles of learning. Last week, we talked to you about what I consider the founding fathers of learning. 6 individuals whose work is the foundation of many of the theories that we use today. The first one we talked about was Edward Thorndike. Now, we talked about his laws of learning, and we've covered that extensively through the last few weeks. Then there's John Dewey. John Dewey was known for his work in the early 1900s, specifically dealing with learning by experience. You have Abraham Maslow. Abraham Maslow is known for his hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which another foundational piece of work which many have used as they develop other theories. We have Robert Meagher. Robert Meagher is known for objectives. He's actually considered the father of objectives, and he speaks about the objectives, which is divided into 3 components: a behavior, a condition, and a standard. Then there's David Kolb. David Kolb is known for learning styles. He talked about 4 distinct learning styles, which we will cover as well. And the last person was Benjamin Bloom. Benjamin Bloom was known for what we call Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is kind of considered like categories of learning. And we talk about how one category leads to the next. And those 6 individuals are considered the founding fathers of learning, because most of their work is what every other person who has theories have built upon. Once again, we said evolution is fine, but we still need to understand where that evolution comes from and how it was built. Now this week, we want to give you a tool that will be very helpful to any instructor, teacher, facilitator. This tool is dealing with questioning techniques. Now let's talk a little bit about questioning. Asking a question is powerful. It can invoke thought in your student and can guide the student to the right possible answer. Now, when you ask a question, your question has to be concise and clear, not ambiguous. You want the student to understand what you're asking of them. So make it concise and clear. Have an idea of what possible answers that he may respond with. It may even be answers that are not totally correct, but just have an idea of what type of answers the learner will respond with. Because part of this is guiding them to the correct answer. So, APPLE techniques. APPLE is the acronym that we use. And the first letter, A, stands for ask the question. And once again, we talked about it being concise and clear. Next thing we want to do is we want to pause. And the reason why we want to pause is because we want to give our learners a chance to really reflect on what you asked. Think about it. Really embrace the question. So, ask the question, then pause. Once you had a decent pause, pick a student, pick a learner. Now, why do we want to do that? Well, what we don't want is an uncomfortable pause expanding over a long length of time because nobody is willing to even attempt to answer your question. We want to avoid that. So give them a pause to think about the question. Give them a pause to actually invoke that thought. But then after a reasonable pause, pick someone to answer the question. And if you're in a classroom setting, pick them by name. Now, some people may have a problem with that. That's okay. As the instructor, you're still in control, the learning process will continue. So pick a student. Now, once you pick someone to answer that question, really listen to that learner's answer. This is probably the most important aspect of this whole process. You have to listen. What are you listening for? Well, it's a good thing if the answer that you receive is totally correct. But maybe it's not totally correct. Maybe it's only partially correct. So you're listening for those components within that answer that are partially correct. Because that's going to lead to the next part, which is emphasize the correct answer. So you listen to the answer. It may not be totally correct, but there may be certain portions that you can hear that have some degree of correctness in the answer. Focus on that. Use that to guide the student to the right answer. Don't necessarily focus on this negative stuff, but you want to emphasize the correct thing. So listening is important. So that's Apple. Apple techniques specifically for questioning. Ask the question, pause, pick someone to answer, listen, and emphasize the correct answer. Well, that's all we have for this week. We want to thank you once again for tuning in. If anything we said was helpful in any way, or if you learned anything, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you know of your peers, send them this video. Let them listen to it. Maybe they'll be able to pick up a few tools and learn a few things as well. At the bottom of this page, you'll see a few links which will lead to information regarding curriculum and training system, some of the products that we offer, some of the different systems and things that we provide. Once again, this is Lance Dixon of Curriculum and Training Systems. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.